Zionism is at war with ice cream. Ben & Jerry's is the dairy wing of Hamas. Why is Ben & Jerry's suing its own parent company? Ben & Jerry's is a rare example of a major brand which engages in some pretty decent corporate activism. But inevitably, when a person or company with a considerable platform delves into the world of politics in a way that ruffles the feathers of the elite, they pay the price. When UK-based Unilever acquired Ben & Jerry's in 2000 for $326 million, the deal was structured in a way that allowed Ben & Jerry's to retain a significant level of independence, especially regarding its social mission and activism. This was a very unusual acquisition agreement because it gave the brand legal protections to continue its social mission through its independent board of directors, despite being part of a multinational corporation. Ben & Jerry's doesn't shy away from using its identity of championing progressive social issues, openly calling for racial justice and police reform in the US at the height of the George Floyd protests, as well as supporting better pay and work conditions for dairy and farm workers in Vermont by signing the Independent Milk with Dignity agreement in 2017, for example. Just read their social mission statement, which they say seeks to meet human needs and eliminate injustices in local, national and international communities. It also criticizes capitalism, highlights worsening income inequality, promotes advancing of new models of economic justice, supporting family farms, as well as criticizing government spending on war instead of human needs. Anyway, Unilever has long been uneasy with Ben & Jerry's refusal to play by corporate activism's unwritten rules. But it looks as though they've drawn the line at pretty mild, and I mean mild, pro-Palestinian advocacy, as is often the case with the long tentacles of Zionism. The first dispute occurred in 2021, when Ben & Jerry's announced that it would cease sales of its ice cream in occupied Palestinian territories as it did not align with their values to be present within an internationally recognized illegal occupation. The move was, of course, deemed anti-Semitic, but also very bizarrely resulted in a phone call from the Israeli Prime Minister at the time, Naftali Bennett, to the Unilever CEO, threatening them with severe consequences. Yes, we're still talking about ice cream. This caused a number of American states, under pressure from Zionist lobby groups such as the Israeli-American Coalition for Action, to pull their investments in Unilever. Then, against Ben & Jerry's wishes, sold their production rights to local Israeli producer Avi Zinger, which sounds like something Jabba the Hutt would say. Which is itself funny because he looks like an Israeli Jabba the Hutt, and sounds like one.
Israel is not something that they can play with. It's not something they can try to hurt, and there is a price for it.
Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid then tweeted victoriously, "The anti-Semites will not win over us, not even with ice cream." Bear in mind, Ben & Jerry's response to accusations of being anti-Israel was to refer to an op-ed written by their co-founders which stated, "As Jewish supporters of the State of Israel, we fundamentally reject the notion that it's anti-Semitic to question the policies of the State of Israel." Like I said, very mildly pro-Palestinian at best, liberal Zionism at worst. As Jonathan Offer says in Mondoweiss, the moral of the story is that the selective boycott, that is a boycott of Israel's war crimes, and settlements are war crimes under international law, will result in the same response as a more inclusive boycott call that takes the whole country to task for its violations, which includes crimes against humanity such as apartheid. Ben & Jerry's have tried to go the selective way. There is no other Israel. This is as good as it gets. It's a one apartheid state. But it seems as though this time round Ben & Jerry's has taken a much stronger stance against Israel, or at least it's been trying to.
I grew up thinking that America stood for justice and equality and fairness, and that, it was defending human rights. And what's happening now, what we're seeing exposed in Israel in supporting that genocide, is that the U.S. is trampling human rights. We're deliberately killing people. It's not a war, it's a slaughter.
In late 2024, Ben & Jerry's launched legal action against Unilever, alleging that their parent company blocked 4 of their attempts to issue public statements during the Gaza genocide. Ben & Jerry's said in the lawsuit that it's tried to call for a ceasefire, support the safe passage of Palestinian refugees to the UK, back pro-Palestine students protesting Israel's war on Gaza, and advocate a halt to US military aid to Israel. And more recently, blocking attempts to release statements in support of detained Palestinian student activist Mahmoud Khalil. Unilever has silenced each of these efforts, said Ben & Jerry's. Fast forward to March, and the relationship fell to a new low after Ben & Jerry's accused Unilever of then firing their CEO, David Stever, for refusing to silence the company's social mission and despite its strong financial performance. Anyway, for one reason or another, it seems as though Unilever is selling its ice cream businesses, including Ben & Jerry's. And now we know even the most simple acts of solidarity with Palestine make Zionists seethe. And as usual, liberals such as Unilever will demarcate the acceptable boundaries of activism, but will toe the line on real activism. So keep boycotting companies that do business with Zionism, and pray that Ben & Jerry's successfully suing Unilever's arses off. Anyway, a special thanks to my first patron. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more political content.